Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. I have a brief opening statement. This is a pretty terrible day for Pakistan and for the Bhutto family. My heart goes out to her children and like her father before her, Benazir Bhutto worked her whole life and lost her life, gave her life, in the attempt to make Pakistan a democracy again, a secular, modern country. She was a woman of extraordinary courage who, as you all know, returned to Pakistan in the face of death threats, and even after an assassination attempt the day after she returned, she continued on. I'm convinced that Mrs. Bhutto would have won a free and fair election, and I think she would have won it solidly. I believe she would have won a majority. The fact is, she was by far Pakistan's most popular leader. It underscores the fact that I believe there is a vast secular, moderate majority in Pakistan, and they need to have a very clear voice in the system. Her assassination makes it all the more urgent that Pakistan return to a democratic path. This fall, I twice urged President Bashar to provide her with better security. For Mrs. Bhutto and other political leaders, I wrote to him before her return in the first assassination attempt in October. And the failure to protect Mrs. Bhutto raises a lot of hard questions for the government and the security services that have to be answered. And they need to be answered by a transparent and full investigation. And in my brief discussion with Secretary Rice this morning, I urged her to consider the possibility of offering the forensic expertise of the FBI and other security agencies in the United States, as we've done before, in helping in such a transparent investigation. I believe my staff will make available to you, if they have not already, the detailed letter, the second security letter I sent to Bashar after a long conversation with Mrs. Bhutto, requesting specific types of security, specific types of vehicles, or specific types of security that was needed. I know that Benazir's followers will be tempted to lash out in violence, but I urge them to remain calm and not play into the hands of the forces of destruction in Pakistan. I urge Pakistan's leaders to open a fully accountable and transparent investigation. We're going to have to find out who is behind this and bring those responsible to justice in order to establish the basic fundamental tenets of any democracy. And the United States should, as I said, offer any assistance necessary, including the investigative teams, to get to the bottom of this tragedy. I've known Benazir Bhutto since 1988. I spoke with her not regularly, but not infrequently. I've spoken with her several times since she's been back. She was confided in that, not confided, she indicated she was both optimistic and concerned, very concerned for her country. As a matter of fact, one of our volunteers, some of you may know, Ed Josephs at the Brookings Institution, who was out here working in our campaign, left about 5 days ago to meet with, to go to Pakistan to witness the elections. He sent me a long email today indicating that he had spent an hour with her last night, or the night before her assassination, and she was optimistic and she was hopeful. Again, I shared her optimism about the fact that, and I still do, that the vast majority of Pakistanis are moderate and secular. And it's very much in the interest of Pakistan, the people of Pakistan, and the United States of America, that there be a full and fair election that goes forward, so that it's the only way to stop the downward spiral is to have the roots of democracy begin to take root, to restore democracy as soon as possible, and that means free and fair elections. There has to be legitimacy. Established in Pakistan in order to be able to have any faith in whatever investigation will go forward. So I'm hopeful that there will be calm, and I will once again say to all of you and to Musharraf. It is incumbent upon him, it is absolutely necessary for the future of his country and the region, for him to guarantee that there be free and fair elections. Well, no, there's no other way. You cannot have an international investigation at this point of an incident that without the cooperation of the government. And it's very much, I would argue, it's very much in Musharraf's interest that there be a transparent investigation. And I'm suggesting that the United States should provide the forensic resources that would be helpful in getting to the bottom of this to the Musharraf government. How he responds to that would give some indication as to how thoroughly and fully transparent this is likely to be. I don't want to pass judgment on it at this moment. Let's see how this investigation proceeds.
How would you put this event in context for Iowa Democrats as they look at the caucuses?
Oh, I'm standing before you today. I am a candidate, obviously, but I'm standing before you today as chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, someone who's been deeply involved in U.S.-Pakistani affairs, who has laid out in significant detail what our policy should be with regard to Pakistan, in stark relief from what has not been happening. We need a Pakistani policy, not a Musharraf policy. One of the things that Benazir Bhutto talked about when we spoke is that she understood that a policy based upon an individual leader is a policy that is not a rational policy for the people of Pakistan. There has to be a long-term relationship with what I continue to believe is a significant, moderate, secular middle class in Pakistan who want a democracy. That should be the focus of U.S. foreign policy and U.S. Efforts. And toward that end, I've laid out, I'd be happy to bore you with it again, copies of the speech I made about 2 weeks ago, laying out in stark relief what I thought the specifics of the U.S.-Pakistani policy should be based upon. And one of the things I liked about her, there's a personal piece to this for me. I don't claim to have been a close friend, but I was a close associate of hers. I have met with her many, many times. I personally liked her. It's just sad to have someone who you know, in my case, who I knew, who I knew that she knew this was a distinct possibility. It takes a lot of courage. This is a courageous woman. How many leaders in the world would do what she did? Go back to a country where she was obviously not overwhelmingly welcomed by the political leadership that at the time was a military dictatorship. That after she got there, many of her followers blown up, scores of them, and yet I talked to her after that, and she was as resolved as she ever was to, because she thought it was essential that Pakistan be a democracy. And she believed, as I believe, that given a fair and free opportunity, the vast majority of the people of Pakistan are secular and moderate. And it's not only in the interest of Pakistan, but the whole world that you restore such a government. Here's a woman who, after all she's been through, not having all the security she felt she needed, sat there and decided in a very cold and calculating way that she would go forward. And according to Ed Joseph, Brookings, in my email to me this morning, she was extremely optimistic the night before she died. She was fully aware of the fact that there might be chicanery. She was fully aware of the fact that these weren't a textbook example of free and fair elections because the martial law had been lifted so recently, because the Supreme Court had been replaced. But she had overwhelming optimism. And to the extent that she moved forward was really a remarkable testimony to her personal courage and her belief in her country. And so there's just, on the human side of this is a genuine tragedy. A truly fine, we're all flawed, all leaders are flawed. But this is a truly courageous woman who went back to her country because she believed so strongly, that the vast majority of the Pakistanis wanted free, fair, open, secular majority to rule that country, and I think it's a shame. Look, I'd like to, it's not possible, but I'd like to, as best I can, I would be holding this press conference where I'm not a candidate for president. I doubt whether any of the other candidates would be holding the press conference where they're not candidates. That's not a criticism, it's an observation. So it's hard for me to separate my role, my official role, as the spokesperson, de facto spokesperson for the Democratic Party the last X number of years on foreign policy, my personal relationship with the principal in this instance, Benazir Bhutto, and my responsibility as chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. And separate that from the fact I'm a candidate. Look, the one thing is absolutely clear to me, and it's almost impossible to make this statement without it being viewed as subjective. There has never been a time in modern American history where the moment the next president is sworn in, the very moment the next president is sworn in, he or she will have to go from the steps of the Capitol down through the inaugural parade and walk in to the White House and probably have to go to the Situation Room. Or literally, not figuratively, sit behind that desk in the Oval Office and be on the telephone. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to wonder what the crises are the next president's going to face. You know what they are. They're looming, they are real, and they are consequential. And I think that the public is not going to elect anyone president of the United States of America who they don't believe has a depth and breadth of knowledge that they can trust to guide them through what they know is going to be a very difficult decade. So obviously I believe I'm the most qualified person in either party by a long shot on this score to be the next president of the United States of America.